Good afternoon, everybody. It's quite an impressive assembly of clubs, coaches, directors here. It's really, it's really neat to see everybody here. I've been in Park City since this fall and taken over since Bill officially retired on March 3rd, and it's been really an amazing opportunity. Since I've arrived here to learn and understand what the USSA is, what the US ski and snowboard teams do, what they do best, and the areas in which we can improve. And this is a job, a response that I take the responsibility for very seriously. It's an amazing organization. It's a huge organization, and we have a lot ahead of us in the road to hoe. We are best in the world in many, many different areas. That's a mantra that Bill first stated. I think it was in 2006, and it was quite a statement. A lot of people, including myself, we thought, boy, that's quite a statement. Well, can we get there? And in 2010, we did achieve that by 2010. And we continue to achieve that, and we did achieve it this year also in 2014. As we all know, record Olympics in terms of 8 gold medals, 17 total medals, 17 different medalists, which is really an amazing achievement. Countless achievements during the winter, podiums, event titles, Grand Prix wins, really amazing. But best in the world, what does it mean? What does it mean to all of us? And this is something that I've been thinking about and wondering about myself for a number of years, and also since I arrived here in the fall. And I think I understand it now, and I think I can relay that to you. And the way I look at it is, yes, we are trying to field the world's best elite teams. We are the best in the world in many sports and many events. And at the same time, we have a tremendous set of partners. We have all of you. We have an incredible pyramid. We have all of these ways in which everybody makes it up to the national teams. So every club, in one way or another, is part of that elite pipeline. Now, not every club, every academy is going to have more than just a few. Some clubs may have 1 or 2 per decade that are actually candidates for our elite teams, and some may have 20, 30, 40% of their actual athletes that are candidates for the U.S. team someday, and eventually World Cup podium. So what that means is that there's a whole other part of the club that's going to have athletes that aren't in that elite pipeline. They're going to be athletes that love to participate. They're going to have friends. They're going to have parents. And all of that comes together so that the elite athlete, for them to be able to be in that elite pipeline, they would not be there if they didn't have their friends, if they didn't have their parents, if they didn't have their parents' friends, if they didn't have all the administrators, all of the coaches, all of the people that keep a club together to make it actually function. They all support, fund, and are the support structure for the athlete who does make it. So in that way, that makes every single person in this room, that makes every single person an athlete in the country that participates in any of our sports, that makes them part of that elite pipeline, because without them being there, the kid who eventually does make it wouldn't be there, and we wouldn't have that elite ascension up to the world-class level and podiums. So it's a real connection there, and everybody is trying and really doing their best. And when we use the word excellence, we named our building after the word excellence. It really means achieving the very, very best you can at each level, each function, each role that you have within this giant structure, this family that we have in the United States in skiing and snowboarding that supports those few that make it to the top. But just the pursuit of excellence and the pursuit of passion in the sport and high achievement, whether it ends up being in a pyramid or in a channel that isn't elite, doesn't matter. It's so many people that enjoy and love doing the sport that are part of that. That really forms the foundation for us. So it's absolutely critical that everybody understands that we are all part of the best in the world. We may not be the athlete on the World Cup podium. We may not be the coach at that level that worries just about the elite level. We may be, many of us have been there. I know a lot of people in this room have been at that level also. But the fact that the entire club and the entire system is supporting that really ties it all together. And that includes the officials, the technical delegates, the volunteers on the Hill, the parents, everybody that keeps the whole structure together. And that's really what Best in the World needs to be, that it actually spreads across our entire structure underneath us, and is absolutely critical. There's no question that being best in the world requires that we really understand what our pipeline is like. So we are constantly trying to look at our own development systems, our own development programs, and that pipeline and that pathway for an athlete, how do they make it all the way to the top? And that is the reason for, I would say, at least what I've watched, 30 years of different ways of designing development systems, of trying to get athletes together, to try to get them to projects, to camps, to higher levels, eventually the D teams, C, B, A teams, all the way up to the top. That there's been efforts forever, as long as I can remember, to do that. And one of the things that we know as the USSA that we can do, which is absolutely critical, is to bring together the very best that we have in our country. So that may mean for a project, it may mean for an entire season, it may mean at the U16 level, it may mean at the U18 level, FIST, or even older, and eventually into the D team. But this is a philosophy and really a goal of ours to make sure that the very best athletes in the country can come together and compete and train together, because that raises them another 20%. Just the action of bringing the best in the country together in almost any age group bumps the pace 20%. You take that best group and you take them to Europe, and they get exposed to what's happening over there, and they get bumped another 20%. And it's so critical that athletes that want to be in that role, athletes that want to make it to the top, that they have the opportunity to keep seeing those bumps. We've been discussing this a lot internally lately as to how this works. Everybody's quite familiar with the national training groups, the U16 national championships. There'll be a lot of dialogue about that this week in terms of how that works. We think we have a pretty good idea internally, the way we want to run that, the philosophy we want to follow, the fundamental principles and practices in which we're going to handle and do that. We want to then bring that out to you, open it to public dialogue, get everybody's input. But what's most important to me about that, which is absolutely critical, is that we work very closely with you, the clubs and the academies, because you are our pipeline. There has to be deep and very, very good integration in all of those levels. We know, and McKinsey has pointed out, that there have been times in the past where we haven't been wonderful in that way. We know that we can improve in many, many aspects. We think we can always constantly improve. But it's absolutely critical to us that we are very, very integrated in what you're doing. And so if there's an athlete that is elite, comes to one of our projects, camps, one of our teams, needs to come back down for a while or just goes home for Christmas, whatever the actual transfer and juncture is, that it's absolutely critical that that works really, really well. And that's something that I want to continuously debate and continuously study and continuously work on with all of the clubs. That's absolutely critical and a really major part of what we do. Some of the other things that I wanted to point out, partly from the McKinsey study and the findings there and the initiatives we undertook, certainly coaches education and John Molten's efforts there. We do believe that it's the most powerful system when we can be a collector of what we believe to be the best practices within our sports, and to refine that and develop that and to put that into a system that then we can teach and then we can move down through the pipeline so that everybody can learn from the top. It's very open. We want a lot of dialogue. We want people to be experimenting and innovating. That information hopefully comes all the way back up to the top, and the next year it's assimilated into the national program and then comes back down into the individual clubs. That is the core of coaches' education. There are European models, some of which work really well and some don't. The ones that work well, we really like to study what they're doing. John has done a fabulous job with his team in expanding and enhancing that program, and that is a major initiative, as all of you know. And it seems to be working pretty well. More feet on the street, more people in the office developing programs, better systems for delivering all of that is absolutely important to us. On the same side, the flip side, the club program, with everything Brian is doing, certification, and again, information and program systems that we can help you put in place, if it's fundraising, if it's how to handle athletes, if it's working with parents, whatever aspect of the program is. as well as minimum standards and best practices at each club. So we take all the information from the country, other countries get it together, and put it together in a program that Brian has, and we say these are best practices. If you follow these, your club will be stronger, better. If you make it to these certain levels, gold, silver certification are all important parts of that whole program. So I really applaud what those guys are achieving in these areas. And on top of that, in addition to that, we're trying to enhance a couple of things. Benefits and programs to clubs, as I was just mentioning, as well as benefits to membership in USSA. So along those lines, we have improved, and we'll be launching this week our new insurance program, our club liability insurance program, which is dramatically easier to use and be part of and significantly less expensive. We think it'll end up being a wonderful solution for a number of clubs. You'll hear more about that later. This is in a reaction to, we heard from the field what was working, what hasn't been working. We've reacted to that, and we're coming out with a program that we think you guys will like. You'll hear more about that this week. We've added a couple new membership categories to USSA. The $25 non-sanctioned category is for all of those athletes that typically don't join USSA, so they can join USSA at a very low rate. It's a $25 membership. It includes the accident insurance, et cetera. So the point is there are benefits there, as well as now a new benefit that we're announcing today or tomorrow, which is in conjunction with Global Rescue, which will be a USSA travel assistance medical hotline that you can call. Anybody who's a USSA member can call for travel assistance. I lost my passport, I missed my flight, I'm sick, I'm in a hotel, I don't know where to go to get I need a legal referral. All of these types of things that are really difficult to handle while you're traveling. There'll be a benefit package related to that that's included with the USSA membership. So one number to call for help while you're traveling, and again, core benefit to USSA. The other membership I want to point out is a membership for volunteers, and the purpose of that is to expand our Safe Sport program. So this is an extension of the USOC program that then allows you to choose who within your club, directors, volunteers, really people who are in power positions over children, that you can have them join USSA, and as part of that process, their background screened. So you can put a whole employee or volunteer background screening process in place simply by directing them to join at the volunteer level at the USSA, and the background screening will be done, and you'll be notified of everybody who's been approved and who's been pending and who isn't approved. And again, this is really important to us because safe sport, safety for children, having these programs in place is a huge liability for clubs. That if you don't have a program in place, to make sure all of the people you have helping, whether they're employees or not, who are in positions in power or controlling children and all of your athletes, that you know what their backgrounds are like and that all of that has been checked. So that's a major component, and that is something that is going to be very important. One last thing I wanted to mention that I'm sure a lot of people are curious about today, and you probably got an email, many of you got an email from Jory Macumber today, is an effort that we're making within USSA to consolidate under one umbrella everything that an athlete needs, essentially non-athletically, in terms of business training, high school, coordinating with your home high school, if that's the case, college entry, counseling, college entry, standardized testing, how to prepare for them, college counseling, college scholarships, and career and mentoring programs. So we've had many of these things in place within the USSA in the past, and then we're now putting them all under one roof. And Jory Macumber is going to be joining us in about a month and a half as the head of school of the team academy, as well as head of all the athlete career and education programs, all under one roof. So the idea is that, and my dream is that, if an athlete is named to a team or comes to us on one of our teams, that when they enter, regardless of the level, whether already college age or high school age, that we have a program. If our high school fits, great. If they're in their home program, great, that we're able to augment and support that. If we're going to send them traveling on the road, take them traveling on the road a ton, that we're going to work very closely with their home coaches and their home teachers, that we're going to help them get into college, that once they're in college, we're going to help fund that. And also the career and mentoring aspect. We have a tremendous number of contacts with all of our donor base, especially our trustees, that have asked us over and over again, we want to get involved, we want to help. So the idea is if you get into the ski team, ski and snowboard teams, and you have a clear athletic pathway to success, you also have a clear career and academic pathway to success, and that they go hand in hand. And so we brought that all under one roof, under Tori's guidance. And the task I've assigned to him is basically solving this fundamental problem where we have high-level athletes in many of our sports that are reaching world-class level when they're still in high school. And in many cases, that can trigger 100, sometimes 200 days of travel. And the only way to make that work is a solution that's other than a traditional school. This is the founding principle on which a lot of the academies were formed. We want to integrate very closely with the academies, work with the programs, whether the kids that we have on our teams are in our high school or in another high school. It does not matter. We want to supplement and work with them and augment that and integrate very closely with those programs to make sure the kid has the very, very best opportunities possible while they pursue their Olympic dreams, while they work on being best in the world force. That's the bottom line.